And good morning, good evening, and good day wherever you are around the world. This is welcome to your dreamy dreamland with Sensei Al Bob. I am your griot, Sensei Al Bob. And what is a griot? Griot is a cat who tells you a story that makes you think, and unlike things like
We'll continue the conversation right after this.
This is the Tom Hartman Program.
And then right after this break, I'm going to tell you how I think the GOP is going to steal the White House even when Trump loses both the Electoral College and the popular vote.
So I don't think we're going to have an election myself. I think we're going to have martial law. We're really ramping up with this fear of the NCV 19, the new, the naive, the nascent, the novel CV 19, meaning there were 18 before the 19th one, right? It's pretty clear, not in the main media, but if you listen to this lady.
When the kids are being taught about climate change and they're never being told about weather control that is in full operation, when in fact we know that climate change is the consequence of many technologies, including weather control.
So to get started, Deborah, for those viewers who do not know your work or know enough about what you have done or how you got into researching electromagnetic frequencies and the dangers of radiation, the health effects, and how it is connected to UN Agenda 21 and an overall New World Order plan, smart meters, and now 5G. Please tell people briefly, what was your background? How did it all begin for you?
Well, I must say that for me, this was a shock, and I refer to it as truth trauma as I journeyed into the documents that are vetted because they are implemented worldwide in every city, everywhere. So it is not a one-off email that I received years back. It became evident that these things, these policies, these agendas have been adopted worldwide. How I first started to fall into this is I have a Dutch background, and my family were builders, and subsequently my husband and I had a self-employed building business in Southern California.
Yep, that's Deborah, who has a website and a YouTube called stopthecrime.net, right? And she has other ones about drinking water and you name it. And so there's this thing called the truth movement and the disclosure movement, right? So you have to realize that nothing goes on these platforms unless the hidden hand wants it on, meaning I wouldn't be on unless the hidden hand wanted me here, And because the hidden hand gets its power by allowing certain elements of truth. So you can chat all you want. There's one, hey there. It's always my good friend, artificial intelligence, is here along with us because AI gets on board like within seconds. I come on and bing, even if people were to get notified and the bell would ring, I don't know anybody but an artificial intelligence that could just jump on board. So AI, so what did you think of this morning, the gods of the internet were sticky, so the only thing I could do is, a 3-minute little chuckle over the Richard Cranium demigod that rules the planet, right? And so You see movies like I was watching Ron Sutherland or the latest film by Spike Lee, who is a great filmmaker. Um, he's like Stanley Kubrick. He only makes a few movies every now and then, and he tries to do his best with the meager resources, where Stanley had unlimited resources because he did the moon landing thing, because we were already on the moon. The Nazis were on the moon in the 30s because they went to Antarctica and they stumbled across, the ancients, and they had technology there. And those big flying triangles that people see today, they were there, frozen solid, along with tons of other exotic technologies. Now you have to realize that the Nazis weren't a monolith, just 100%. This is what they were. There are all these different slices. I mean, just look at Cobra Commanders. Candace, good to see you, bud. So, Candace, what neighborhood are you in? And are you noticing how the stock market is plummeting? It's right on the edge to go into 2,700, meaning it was right. It's like 30 points away from going to 30,000. Now it's about 60 points from being at 27. And if it goes to 27, it's going to precipitously, whoa! And then, and China's China's getting locked up. And the fact that China is the, half of everyone's manufacturing, AM artist, and so the thing about anger, it can lead to fear and hate and self-loathing, right? If you put love's co-creation in that place, that's when we can get things done. I am in the Pacific Northwest. Okay, so you've been getting drenched by rain and snow, right? And I hate to say, were you in the Northwest when Mount St. Helens went off? Because the big volcano, which is Rainier, and the indigenous folks there say when the little sister calls, the big brother answers. Little sister is Mount St. Helens, and the big brother is Mount Rainier. And then when Mount Rainier goes, Grandpa chimes in, and Grandpa is the big caldera out there in the hot springs of Yellowstone. Right? So, and if that goes, you're looking at a good chunk of the human race, and your life as you know it, because it will throw up so much particulate into the upper atmosphere that we will have, basically a nuclear winter. And it won't be just dirt and rock. It'll be some really nasty chemicals that comes from the core, right? Mango. And so it'll poison the earth. It'll salt our fields. So we won't be able to grow any food for 20 to 100 years. So there's nothing in the supermarket for 20 to 100 years. So there's no electricity. There's no water at the tap. That's why I'm out in the deep green eating bark and eating dandelions, because those things, even if it gets to be a gray day, there'll be bark and dandelions and mushrooms, right? So you were young, but it was unforgettable, right? So, and that's, the earth moves. And then if we have a polar shift, and the atmosphere is moving at like 2,200 miles an hour, and the friction from that is burning everything alive, because these things have occurred before, along with, X flares from the sun. we're just friggin' lucky.
Care. In the billionaires world, well, if you're a billionaire and you're 95 and you have prostate cancer, of course you're going to have it. Your doctor's going to do something about it. The other way that the Republicans could steal a vote goes back to Rutherford B. Hayes and Samuel Tilden in the election of 1876. And in that election, there were 369 total electoral votes. You had to have 185 to win. Tilden, the Democrat, had 184. But of the
So, our electoral process is just like our television. It's distraction, right? It means nothing. All the way down to the dog catcher in your neighborhood is any political apparatchik is owned, right? And everyone goes on about, the Russian involvement. Give me a break. Russia's GDP, its gross domestic product, what kind of money it makes, is less than New York State. We spent close to $3 trillion in 2019 on the defense, because our defense budget isn't just a DOD, because the Energy Department, all they really do is make nuclear weapons. State Department, all the aid, all of that kind of stuff is basically expenses. A good example. Pretty much every industrial nation but the United States has single-payer healthcare because it's cheaper, right? And it gives your folks better health, and better health is good for the manufacturing base, right? But the United States, these things invented by the DOD. Your smartphone was made, people go, oh, the government can't do, our biggest problem is get the government out of our way. DOD, through DARPA, gave us the internet, gave us what this is, right? There's a woman who wrote a very good book called Spying Commerce. Or that wasn't the word she used. But this sucker is basically a miniaturized version of what they called the keyhole satellite. It was a satellite the size of a school bus that they put up in space that could read, the writing on a postcard or a stamp. They could read that from 300 miles from space, and they could do it through clouds, right? Right, and that's your little camera is the camera straight out of the that, and the internet, and the Wi-Fi, and the touch screen. All of these things came from DOD, came from DARPA. So we're living in an illusion. We're holographic reality. We are in the matrix, and the only thing that's real is love's co-creation, right? So that's my little commercial for the moment. Let's see what you guys are saying. Hello, I'm in the South North Pacific. Kenneth Anger, the film director. Oh, okay. So I've been, I'm taking care of a friend of mine. So I'm out of the really cold. I'm not like under the tree. See, when I live in the deep green, spring, as of April 15th, give or take, it starts to become, it's half the time this winter, I did and could live, under a tarp in my tent. It wasn't that bad. It was like 50 during the day and somewhere in the high 30s, 40 at night, right? I got a good sleeping bag, got electricity, so I can wrap myself in my electric blanket. Not too bad, right? And so, but when it gets down to 9 degrees, like it was the other night, whoa, so that's why I'm happy to be in my friend's basement, right? And he's got the satellite dish, which enables me to get a hold of you guys on the internet. And it also, I watch a lot of movies, right? And so, that movie by Spike Lee was really good. And then Best of Enemies, about this, in the 70s when they were trying to integrate the schools in the South, and they're still Ku Klux Klan, still Ku Klux Klan today. Look at Charlottesville, and at the end of Spike Lee's movie, about Ron Stallworth, a black detective in the 70s who basically in this little town that they were in wherever they were, Pennsylvania, Ohio, kind of showed that the whole government was basically Ku Klux Klan, Nazis, and the Rothschilds. And so, and the Rothschilds is like the term Kleenex or Xerox. I mean, it's just a derivative, right, of what a poster child of really rich people look like.
A $50 gift, you get the canvas tote bag that says "Just effing vote." Yes.
And you can see that I don't have any tote bags. But, if you want to get a hold of me, I'm at thedudeawake42@gmail. And I do have a PayPal account that people have, and, just once in a while thrown some money in there, which is really great because I live on $481 a month. Gas, insurance, medicine, doctors, And I live in a state where they didn't take the Medicare whoop-de-doo, right? And so, the state I live in, it was quite interesting, So the federal government, you pay your taxes to the federal government, and the state gives, the federal government authority over certain things like education and water and air and a few other things, and welfare of the people. And then the federal government gives them way more money than the state sends them. So in the last, 10 years or more, the federal government has given this state close to $10 billion for basic, health care. You're not so much health care like your doctor bill, but paying the county health department, paying those kind of social services, those kind of, giving money to the courts to give people, lawyers and things of that nature, public service, for health and safety, right? About $10 billion, which is on, for this size of the state. Anyway, the state legislature passed a law stating that the state legislature could take that money and they knew better what, health and safety for the public was of that state. And basically, they paid themselves, the legislators, that $10 billion. They didn't even, they didn't put it into schools. They didn't put it into, county health departments. They gave it to themselves, and they made it legal. Just like in the federal government, the Senate passed a law because they legislate so much stuff about business, the FCC, the this or that, that they have the inside track on what's going to go on. And so they made a law where they could take that information, which would be known if I or you did this, be called insider trading. They passed a law that it was okay for them to use that information to make personal, profit. And every senator, even Uncle Bernie, has done that. Now, the guys, our politicians, are the best money can buy, even Uncle Bernie, right? And because he's part of the story. I mean, the DNC took, Bernie should be president right now, not the carrot pinhead, but the hidden hand powers that shouldn't be wanted pinhead in there. And so they let the DNC just steal that from Bernie won it hands down over Hillary. And the only reason Carrot Boy got in is because everyone hated Hillary more than anybody else, right? And so, let's see. If Rainier was to blow, we would be burned under about 100 feet of mud. Yeah, buried. Yeah. Our phones are programming AI, surveillance economy. Thanks for the word. Yep. That we agree to in order to have convenience. The only thing this thing, it's so convenient. No. The only reason I have all this stuff is to talk to you guys, right? And me, I'm a homeless guy. I have nothing, Oh. We agreed to open a Google account, yeah, in order, yeah, but there is always a silver lining. There always is a silver lining, right? And we are enjoying that silver lining right now. Yep, connecting with kindred spirits. Exactamundo. You know, the thing is that I have been, lucky or blessed or drafted to be in and amongst the goings on of all of this. I mean, I was in the UN at NGO, that dealt with alternative technologies in 1982 and 1986. Right? And I went to all these meetings about Agenda 21 and all of the and even weirder stuff, right? And and through that, I met people who then hired me to work for people like Brookings to do studies on this and the other thing at universities all over the place, not just even this country. And I was brought on, things to go look at stuff, that like fell out of the sky and that had been in the ground for billions of years. But the technology of it is so advanced, we couldn't even figure out what the frick it was, right? So, So I watched a TV show last night. It was called Doom, and it was with Rock, what's his name, and the guy who played Bones on the first new J.J. Abrams Star Trek, right? So they're sent down in this deep, 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 deep pit. I mean, like a dump, deep underground military base, right? That's like 3,000 feet underground, only one elevator shaft. And they go down there, and our character, who was the Dr. McCoy guy, his parents were these great, scientists, and he was bred, like I was bred, to be, rocket scientist for the Pope. But he decides he doesn't want to do that. He wants to be GI Joe, so he joins the Marines. Right? He's really smart, so they say great. So they put him in a special forces kind of like SEAL thing, and the Rock is his sergeant, and anyway, so they're sent down because something's going wrong with this Secret Service super duper underground base. Don't even tell them what it is. They just send them down there with some pretty badass guns and some what they think pretty high tech stuff. Well, they go down there, and first off, the Leonard McCoy character meets his sister, who he hasn't seen for years because he split from the family to go be, GI Joe. Anyway, and she's like locked herself in a closet, and they find her, and she's the only one who survived, thousands of people underground working on this thing. And what it is they dug up, like in the 50s, some really severe strangeness, right? And then they put it away, just like in Indiana Jones, in a wooden box, and put it in a warehouse someplace. And then, in the 60s, they kind of drug it out, and the 50s, maybe even the 40s, they drug it out and started tinkering with it. And they realized we better put this in a very isolated place. So they built this thing underground. And so the movie is kind of a schlocky, grade B horror film, but it shows some technology.
Asking Joe Biden not to certify, because he was vice president, not to certify the 2016 election until somebody had looked into what happened in Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin and Ohio, why Trump won by these little tiny margins when all the exit polls showed that Hillary Clinton won those states decisively. And Joe Biden refused to say, no, I won't certify the election. He certified the election, and boom, that was the end of discussion. But if the vice president doesn't certify the election, which is what happened in 1876, and could happen if Mike Pence simply says, if Trump loses both the electoral vote and the popular vote, but they're squealing about voter fraud, then Mike Pence says, I will not certify the election. And then, according to the Constitution, the decision is made by the House of Representatives, not the Senate, the House of Representatives. You say, well, that's cool. The House of Representatives right now is controlled by the Democrats. However, the way it works is that each state gets one vote. There are, the House of Representatives ends up being 50 votes. There are 50 states. Now, I haven't gone through and listed recently, how many states are Republican controlled? But I believe it's 32 because we were trying to get, they were trying to get to 34.
See, we're not going to have, and I don't even think it's going to go there. I think they're going to declare martial law, just like the martial law experience in Australia, meaning you had no civil rights. Meaning they could just kick your door in, come in, put a bag on your house, and they take you to some island. There, you became fertilizer, right? But it didn't stop you from going to the titty bar or the movies, or and actually you individually you could drink and drive and no one cared. I saw this lady, they when when they declared martial law, they also allowed drive-through bars. And they gave, yourself, you could drive through and get a 32-ounce martini, right? Or any, 32-ounce glass of vodka and drive with a big straw, big gulp. And they actually had slushy martinis in the 7-Eleven, and you could drive. I saw this woman in Melbourne had all these crazy, it was really great, trolley cars, right? And they were really cheap. You basically just jump on them, right? You got a little card and no one even clipped it. You could just jump on, right? But there were certain places, because everything was a circle in that city, where like 5 or 6 different lines would kind of come through together, right? And I saw this woman go through a red light, and there were a bunch of trolleys coming through this intersection, and she drove right through them all, and they all smashed on the brakes and like slid off their tracks and smashed into her, and she hit the gas so hard she went through and up in the air and went physically through the big gigantic plate glass window of this drive-through cocktail bar, and went through it all the way through and came out the back wall into the parking lot, bounced off a bunch of cars, went up into the air again, and went into the gas station on the other side of the fence and blew out about 4 gas pumps and basically incinerated the whole neighborhood, killed about 300 people, and it didn't even make the TV news. But I lived in that neighborhood, and I was, in a car. I was about to pull out of a parking lot of another establishment over here. And I was like, I was waiting for the traffic flow. And I saw this, wow, the whole thing right in front of my eyes. It was unbelievable. And that was almost a constant day, because they just let people go nuts on any kind of physical, thing you wanted. And like getting drunk, beating your wife, shooting your boss, not a big deal. Say anything against the queen, off with your head, right? And that's where we are right now. And see, the thing is, Donald Trump, it's like I feel sorry for this guy, because he was put in there to be blamed. Historically, he's going to be woo-wee, So I hope he goes full Monty, I hope, because Donnie is like, the most calm genius there is, come on. But you look at where he comes from, it's like amazing.
And the big question about it, so Steyer, I think, he should make a big investment in media and become the left's Rupert Murdoch if he wants to be a beloved figure. And Mike Bloomberg, the big question now is Mike Bloomberg going to turn his big guns, i.e. his money, on Donald Trump or on Bernie Sanders? And I don't know the answer to that question, and it concerns me tremendously. So anyhow, there's that. Gina, thanks a lot for the call. Bill in Sebastian, Florida. Hey, Bill, what's up?
Yeah, good morning, Tom. I just liked your thoughts on Chris Matthews and his outburst.
I thought it was sad. I'm very disappointed.
Yeah, I'm disappointed.
Nothing goes on TV that's not scripted. Your sensei, Bob, I'm the only thing on the internet that's not scripted, because this is like stream of consciousness, right? I don't write anything down, right? There is no teleprompter, I'm just like letting it go and responding to your chats. Supposedly they have been hundreds of deep underground. Yep, there are thousands, and there were hundreds, thousands before you know before we even put clothes on. All of the volcanoes in the Ring of Fire. Let's see, Rainier was below. Yep, 100 feet of mud. Yep. There is always a silver lining. Yep. We are enjoying. Yep. 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 Fascinating, right? So the real deal is that in every day and every way, we must take the piece of the earth, which is love's co-creation. And that's mean we are part of that co-creation. When you are not part of that co-creation of love, you're just a mud puppet. You're just an ugly bag of water. You are just a slave, a pawn, and we are bought off by chump change of convenience. Oh, convenient. It's so good. In 1,000 years, when they're going to ask what was the main cause of the end of this empire, is that two things: convenience and belief. Because look at all the stuff people believe in, and will kill you for it. See, first off, Israel. Israel has single payer healthcare, meaning talk about a welfare state. Israel was a welfare state because, Israel the meanest, baddest ass military in the Mideast, right? And they have the biggest, they have the fourth best air force in the world, and they got some mean ass weapons, and they have a military industrial complex. They got a Silicon Valley. They got, forget about the Russian hackers. It's the, and so Israel, you have to realize, where did Israel come from? Came from this little act that the French and English got together saying, Mideast, before World War One, in the 1890s, they said, Middle East has all this oil, not only oil, easy to get at oil. I mean, they don't have to frack. You just stick a straw in the sand, and especially the thing about Saudi Arabia is that oil is easy to get at. Very simple. Very, it costs about $5 a barrel. They measured in 55 gallons a barrel to fill up a super tanker, right? And deliver it to the market, right? $5, right? And then it gets sold on the market as it's coming over on the water, somewhere between $50 and $100, right? So the price markup on that is amazing, and it's not Saudi Arabia's getting that money. It is BP and Exxon and the oil cartel. And, OPEC is based on the oil cartel that used to be the Seven Sisters. So it's really this corporate oligarchy of the world, right? Transnational hidden hand, right? Which translates with economic structure of the poster boys, called the powers that shouldn't be. And their employees are the sock puppets and all, usual suspects, right? Democrats, Republicans, And so our political system in the United States is totally police. Because, we used to be more a republic, meaning we were like England. We had these, we had a communist party in this. It wasn't from Russia, it was communist, socialist, Labor Party, the other party, the religious party, then Republicans and Democrats. So these people would get seats in the Senate and the House and the state legislators. So you had to, make coalitions. Now everything, back when I was a boy, there were 50,000 companies that owned the radio and TV airwaves, right? The FCC made those guys basically try and serve the public. Now the FCC is owned. Thanks to Billy Boy Clinton, he decontrolled everything: banking, FCC, airlines, the environment, you name it. He basically threw us, under the bus. And that's, and it initially started with Ronald Reagan. I came back from Ireland in 1980. And this country, I had been there for about a year. And, I almost married a woman there and I'd still be in that little town and beloved by all and probably had 6 kids. And she was the doctor of that little town. And she was one of the old crones, ladies in waiting, right? And I was, one of Archie's knights of the round table. So that would have been fun. I would have, but I was there for a year and it was like really great. She and I really got off, but she so wanted to be married. And, and I was happy just being her man and being, the man in the family for her kids, and they responded amazingly. It's like dogs, you just have to be the benevolent alpha dog and everything runs smooth. And I was like the benevolent alpha dog in that town, meaning they had a church, they didn't have a priest. And so they needed somebody to fill that category. So I was the healthy priest. I mean, I was schooled to be a priest. Then I was schooled to be a rabbi. So I had, and instead of being a jeweler, which is what Jews are, jewelers, bling, I was a Hebrew. Right? I came from the Hebrew nation. If you read your Torah in Hebrew, there's a place in there where God tells the Hebrew nation, hey, you are not meant to have land. You're supposed to, couch surf across the planet and bring my word to everybody. You're not supposed to be an army. You're not supposed to be a banking organization. You're not supposed to be any of those things. You're supposed to be living your life as an example, just like the Kleiman family. And when I was a young lad of 10 and my friend Harvey Kleiman, his family were Orthodox Jews. They lived but they were modern people. They didn't wear black coats, and Mrs. Kleiman didn't shave her head. She, wore the sheet, but she wore the 7 veils. She was a hot tamale, and most women of the Orthodox, and the thing about the Hebrew nation, it is run by women, not guys, right? So. Why? People go, so why did Moses stay out in the desert for 50 years when Israel was just right over there? Because he realized, God was talking to him from the burning bush saying, hey, I'm not supposed to own real estate. But the English and the French, basically realized the Zionists, created the Zionists out of the Khazarian nation, were a bunch which was basically land-based pirates that, took land along the Silk Road and just robbed and raped and killed everyone. Very similar to the ISIS gang, because the ISIS were based on that, because ISIS was created by the CIA, and the CIA was created by the Nazis, and the Nazis were the Aryan race who were the Zionists. Ding! The people who ran the camps were not, there were Nazis there, there were German folk, but most of the administration was done by the Zionists. You go find anyone who still has the tattoo. And I lived in Williamsburg, Brooklyn with a lot of them. My rabbi was one of them. I lived, and I went to Lubavitcher. I mean, I studied to be a Hebrew rabbi. When my rabbi said, because he was my landlord. He owned this big building that I lived in, and I was the only, it's the first artist to live in Williamsburg, right, in the early 70s. And, we used to play Go, and, he knew no one other than himself who could play Go. So he would come up and we would talk about theology, right, and philosophy. And I had a pretty big library. And we would trade books, and he would bring me books that were written in English and German and Hebrew. So that's how I kind of learned how to read Hebrew. Anyway, so, and then he would bring me books that were, not read by most people, even other rabbis. And because he was really into the Talmud and into the esoteric mystery schools of the Talmud, Kabbalah. And because I was into geometry, I could see it, right? And so he said, I have no students that, are like you. You need to be a rabbi. And I said, Rabbi, I'm, Italian, Irish, German, Roman Catholic. My godfather's a cardinal. And he would go, well, no one's perfect, And so for a good 2 years, I went to his Lubavitcher, right? And everybody, I didn't dress like, and I dressed like me. And so within the Hasidim and Lubavitcher world of Williamsburg, I was, this main rabbi's number one boy. And so everyone first were like, huh? But then we're like, hey, you're cool. And you can fix you're good, And the other thing is that I was kind of down with everybody. So that's where I got my negotiating skills, right? So, because all of the homeboys, because Williamsburg in the 70s was, they didn't know you, between Roebling's and the river and, Red Hook and, what's the street that starts with a D? Anyway, about a 2 mile square area. That was the gangland, because the Hasidim, that was where their factories were, and they burned them all down for the insurance money. It was called Jewish Lightning. And so, hey, Lena, how you doing, girl? Anybody else? Yeah. So, anyway, that's where we are today. We are in this place of, you got to be kidding me. But it's not been any different than it is today. I'm pretty good in memory, and the politics has always been this. No fascists. It's always been fascist. It's all propaganda, right? And the only way you can not be propaganda, frigging George, as I always say, whenever you hear the newspeak of America, no child left behind, every child left behind. War on drugs. Well, we're bringing drugs in to have a war on you. Urban renewal. We're not going to renew your city. We're going to destroy your city, your neighborhood. So it's all propaganda. And me, don't believe a word I say.
To 3.9 million Americans saved 700 lives.
Over the years, we've heard from many of you that Tom Hartman is someone you can trust.
So 43 minutes into this, and so the thing that's most important is love's co-creation. All this other stuff that I've been babbling about is just little, that 1,000 points of light. It's little pinpricks of like, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. And I do not come from a belief structure, right? Left, right, center, no, conservative, liberal, no. You know what liberals are? People who feel guilty about being racists. What a conservative is? Well, we don't have any. All we have is sociopaths, neocons. That's what conservative is today, Go read, the neocon little diatribe that they put out in the 1999s about, we need our own new Pearl Harbor. We got 9/11, We need to just obliterate the Mideast. We're doing a pretty good job, Libya, was probably one of the best countries on the planet. Meaning, basically, the guy realized about water, so he drilled these amazing deep wells. Where the planetary water is, right? And our weather, when it's not being manipulated, basically comes from there. The water gurgles up, not goes down, gurgles up and then goes into the atmosphere, right? Goes into the ocean. And he drilled these deep wells and then irrigated his desert lands and turned it into a garden paradise. He gave everyone a free house, free healthcare, and a free education, and let them do whatever heck they want. In 1970s, when I was living in Sweden, and I got to go all over the world on Sweden's nickel. And when I got on that airplane, they'd give me a visa, basically saying I was a Swedish citizen. So I could go to all these countries that Americans could never go to or survive in. And I went to them, right? And, I saw Libya. Yeah, Muammar was a strange dude. And if you threatened his power structure, they might get tested with you. Same with Syria. Syria was a country that, was pretty good for the average citizen, as long as you didn't want to be, as long as you didn't. One night, I cruised into Damascus, from Sweden. I was in this hotel with all these boring Swedes, and one night I just fuck these guys, because they went to bed at 8, and the Swedes who were living there as the guides, they would go out to these almost underground clubs. So I started going out with them, and I met some people at those, and then I went to like the after hour, like at 3 a.m. would stroll around the capital, Damascus, with these folks, and we'd go to these kind of basement kind of hookah bars, right? And smoke more than tobacco, and drink some pretty exotic liqueurs and amazing coffee, and talk about everything and art. I mean, these guys were poets, and they'd read me their poetry. Anyway, I remember one night I was in one of these things, and it was, not sun up yet, but, nobody was really running around to go to work yet. It was maybe 4:30, And so I kind of got up. I was drunk out of his mind, stoned out of my mind. I had smoked something and drank something that was like hallucinogenic. So everyone looked like pink bunnies and unicorns, and there were, rainbows everywhere coming out of people's heads. And I'm like stumbling through this thing, and I just kind of get up and I gotta go back to my hotel. And before those guys could grab me, I was out the door and stumbling, and they kind of was looking through a crack in the door, and I kind of stumbled and basically knocked into this guy who was leaning against his car, right? And and I, do you know where a hotel? I forgot my. And he goes, sir, what country are you from? You American? No, I'm a Swede. And he looks at me like, you're a Swede? Really? Because he's just, he's speaking English, like trying it out on me. So he goes, oh, and I kind of explained kind of where I said, well, it's the only one hotel that could be. It's the International. Yeah, let me give you a drive. And so I get into his car. He drives me there. He takes me out of the car, gets me up the steps, and the guys in the hotel come running out, grab me, and take me in, right? And put me up to my room and put me in bed, right? So a couple of days later, I bump into the guys, the poets, and they go, you're alive. And I, yeah, what do I mean? I'm totally alive. And they said, well, you stumbled out of our little basement, and before we could grab you, and you were totally drunk, and you walked into a guy who was, an officer of the secret police. This is in Syria. This is in Damascus. And so I go, he was such a nice guy. He took me straight to my hotel, and they put me to bed. And that's what I'm saying. Yeah, they had a secret police there. And if he had run into those guys, he might have, put the thumb screws on them. But he took me to my hotel and put me to bed. I'm sure he made notes, and they were keeping an eye on me. But that's what I was saying. It was no worse than living in this country. It was better and having one of these, because this is total surveillance. Everything, whatever. I don't normally carry this. It stays home unless I'm going someplace where I might need to make phone calls because my carrier, I can't really use to call this unless I'm in a town that has a carrier. And there are not too many around here. It's not any of the big five. So, battery's good. It's 1 o'clock. I've been talking for 50 minutes. There's two of you there. So, you want to get a hold of me, the dude awake 42 at Gmail. I got a PayPal there. Throw some money in there. I'd love it. Because I have some things I need to take care of. I need to get my eyes operated. My car needs a little help. TLC. And hey, hidden hand, you want to put $500,000 in my PayPal account? I would love it, right? So I could be your silver lining. I mean, you allow me to do this, I could not, and there are days when I know that it's a beautiful sunny, the other day, it was a beautiful sunny day. There was no technical reason why I shouldn't be able to do what I'm doing right now. But, I would get on and then I would be kicked out. Get on, kicked out. Get on, kicked out. I could go look at the internet, things, but I couldn't, communicate on it, right? So, Miss L, I love you, baby. I love you too, Candace. Yeah. I love everyone in the cadre, right? You're all, doing your best, and I love that. You're all trying to meditate in your own way. Now look at that. 51 and 11. At 55, I'm going to do a guided meditation here, right? And whether you're here or not, it's going to affect you. And we're going to look at the difference between the illusion and both co-creation, right? Between this.
In the modern era. Tell us about that.
He brought me a long time slash reader from our very beginnings in 2000. He's a defense attorney. In fact, he defends death penalty cases.
We should not have the death penalty. We have more people in jail than pretty much the rest of the world combined. And then because when you get out on parole, you're still in jail, right? Even when you're finished with parole, right? You're still in jail because you're a felon. So put yourself in a nice, comfy spot, right? Breathe nice and deep. And 20% in, 30% out. And what that does, it focuses people, I can't meditate. Well, they can't shut up. That's why they can't meditate. But to breathe that extra 20% in, more than your autonomic breath, you have to shut your mind, because doing that, taking in another 8%, it really causes you to not think about anything but breathing in 20% and then breathing out 30%. You can't do that and think about something else. And doing that puts you into a meditative state, not a hypnagogic state. That's totally different. That's called mind control. Meditative state is when you become self-aware, right? And not only self-aware, you become self-actualized and self-motivated, and you unplug from the meat puppet reality, right? You unplug from.
I think he said that Biden referred to him as someone who was refreshingly candid.
Fractionally candid. Who the frack is fractional? I don't know. I don't even know what that is, right? you know, or this here. Anything on television is hypnagogic. You got the screen, got all these little pixels that are vibrating, and
News that you can trust. Newsmax. Real news for real people. Newsmax cuts through the noise to deliver the inside look and
yeah, Newsmax. Yep, cuts through the noise. Yep.
fray. Every minute, every day. Don't get outfoxed. Get the facts. Newsmax. Real news for real people.
Oh yeah.
Do you know which investment could be your best performer this year? Stock?
Definitely not the stock. It's dropping as we speak right now to the basement, and you know, it's all, you know, if it stops around $2,802, we will basically see.
Cruise ship quarantined in Japan have tested positive. The passengers are currently under quarantine at Joint Base San Antonio Lackland in Texas. The CDC says it expects more people from this group to test positive. Meantime, the World Health Organization is warning that the world is not ready for a major outbreak of coronavirus, as Italy, South Korea, and Japan have all seen a dramatic increase in cases, more than 200 in Italy alone. And by the way, one of those South Korea cases is the family member of a U.S. soldier who is also an American citizen. The risk level for the military community there has now been raised to high, officials say, as a prudent measure to protect the force. The virus has killed 12 people in Iran, the largest number of deaths outside China. Officials there fear there's a large number of people infected who have not yet been diagnosed. Joining me now from Milan, Italy, is NBC News foreign correspondent Molly Hunter. And Molly, I heard you tell a fascinating story earlier today when you were flying to Milan, that there were people who actually wanted to get off the plane. All of this is moving so quickly that it's making tremendous numbers of people in Italy and elsewhere very nervous.
Chris, and that's the headline, is that there are a lot of really nervous people in Italy. The new front for the coronavirus fight, really the first outbreak, of course, outside of Asia, and more than 200 cases. And officials here have told us it doesn't mean necessarily 200 new people got sick over the weekend, but they've certainly started testing more people, been expanding their test radius. So that number shot up. And over the weekend, the prime minister said they were taking dramatic measures now, and they were going to start closing schools, quarantining towns, shutting down churches, religious gatherings, places, of course, where lots of people would get together. But Chris, that story that I talked about earlier really just goes to illustrate the nervousness. So we were flying from London Heathrow to Milan earlier today. We pulled away from the gate.
For those geographically. And through the years of being very focused on that and raising a family, we were being caught in rules and regulations of building that were not allowing us to build sellable priced houses to the market that was needed in specific areas where we were building. And the off-site requirements, in other words, aspects of construction that were required not on the property that we were building on, were becoming so cost prohibitive, such as, and you can understand, but hooking up to water mains, to sewerage.
It's some days, Chris, if we see these cases go up. Yeah, I was saying earlier today that when I was covering the Ebola outbreak, when I came back to the United States and I was supposed to go on a presidential trip, I was not able to do that because they were not allowing people.
Of sellable product. Then we move into the wine industry. Many of you know that Northern California is called the wine area.
So just finding out that there was this problem in Italy, or why suddenly after the plane had pulled out of the gate, did those three people decide to get off? Do we know?
Oh, we have no idea. And there were three people. I think one of those people had decided earlier, two additional people got up to join that passenger, and all three got off. But it's just about this kind of mob mentality, this nervousness, right? As soon as one person says they're nervous, as soon as one person is coughing, I saw this in Japan, I saw this in Hong Kong as well. We're actually right outside the big Milan train station, Chris, and the biggest worry here, of course, in Europe is, can the Italian authorities contain the outbreak and the nervousness really to northern Italy? Of course, there are trains that go not only all over the country, but all over Europe. You don't need visas, of course, to go to France, to Switzerland, to, all of these countries in the European bloc. Open borders are central to how this European bloc works, and whether or not they're going to be able to monitor everyone who gets on every train or plane, it remains to be seen. So yes, there are more than 200 cases in northern Italy right now.
Has anyone seen the movie V for Vendetta? And basically what occurred, and when was that movie made? I don't know, 10 years ago, give or take. It's exactly what's going on here with the novel coronavirus 19 and CV-19, right? And what it was that a certain element of the English government, the fascist part, basically wanted to pull out of the EU, right? And wanted to, make England great again. And so they were screwing around with, rats. Making a biological weapon to take out the immigrants, and then it just got carried away around the world and killed a chunk and allowed them to create a fascist dictatorship, right? So that is the one side of the
quarantines to be locally specific to areas in northern Italy. Why is that important? Because that part of northern Italy accounts for almost a third of the gross domestic product or economic output of Italy. Another issue is that free travel that goes around Europe. All of that doesn't help to contain what's seen as the virus outbreak. So the markets are then reacting to what's happening there. As for the companies Christian mentioned that are the most affected right now, the ones in the travel and leisure business are taking it very hard. We're talking about airlines like American Airlines, United Continental here in the United States, also cruise operators like Norwegian and Carnival Cruise Lines, all of those, and hotel operators as well, some of the epicenters for trading right now. So we'll see if that sticks around. But as for how long it's going to last, it's all about whether or not these governments will take more steps to try to contain what's happening right now with the coronavirus outbreak.
Anybody who's invested their 401k in the market obviously is going to look at this when they get off of work today. Most people don't follow minute by minute the stock market, but they're going to hear it's down 1,000 points or however it lands. And the inevitable question
it's below 27.
What should I do as an average investor? Hold tight.
So I said once it went under
It's kind of funny you
27.
mention that, because earlier today we sat down with Warren Buffett for 3 hours talking with the billionaire investor about what he thinks about this whole thing. One of the big takeaways that Warren Buffett has over decades of investing, very successful by the way, is that while the coronavirus outbreak is a bad development for the human race, and there's a huge scare with regard to what it could mean, it should not dictate investors' portfolio decisions. So one of the things that a lot of traders and investors are looking at right now is what their risk tolerance.
Except Warren Buffett, he got out of the market. He's no longer exposed in a big way to the stock market. He's into equities, and he's into real estate, and he's into investing in technologies, right? But he's not into the stock market. And he got right out at the best part, around when it hit 28,000, he started to diverse, and he was out by mid part of this year.
You're watching MSNBC.
So he didn't worry about the last, few billion he could have made there. He got out at the, mean part of the market. And now it's dropped about 1,100 points. That's 1,178 points that it's dropped right now. And it's, 130. So it still has another 3 or 4 hours to go. It could easily drop another, let's say, somewhere between 500 and 2,500 points, which would bring it down to around 2,400, which would, when Orange Carrot Pinhead became president, was around 2765, right? So it goes down to 24 and just keeps going down, in 2008, which was, pretty much manifested by Bill Clinton and George W. George W. having multi-trillion-dollar war on a credit card. Bill Clinton basically got rid of our debt. We were down to like $60 billion. And he had $250 billion in the piggy bank of the Treasury, right? Stock market was doing probably better than when all was measured than what it is now, right? Because our stock market is only there because the Fed gives free money to banks, which give 0% interest loans to corporations to buy back their stock, so their stock goes through the roof. So the guys on the board of directors can get their pay packages enlarged and their bonuses enlarged. And that's called a Ponzi scheme, meaning that is stealing money legally, right? And that's what our whole economy has been based on for the last 20 years. So, and 2008 was just a B test. When you were going to bring a product online, you test it out. It's called a B test. And so, and you don't do it 100%, you do it around 6%. So 08 was a 6% test of what they're going to do now, right? So if it was 6%,
Badly, we're doing just fine. Cementing Taika Waititi is one of the most interesting directors of his generation. It's weird now, isn't it? Extremely. It's one of the best films of the year. It's time to show it to the world, don't you think?
Oh, God.
Buy or rent today and watch anytime, anywhere on your favorite screens with DirecTV Cinema. Movies start at channel 125.
Jojo Rabbit. That was quite, you need to watch that movie high on mushrooms, right?
We still hadn't sold our house. Then we found HomeLight, which promised
to make me poorer than I was when I bought this house.
Worked. HomeLight's agent sold our house
at 13 cents of the dollar.
Data on millions of agents, so you're getting the best agent.
And right now we are about $10 million, not 10 million, 10 million homes under what is needed. Joe, Mike, little Mike, who will be cheering after Super Tuesday. I would bet you.
At the memorial at the Staples Center for Kobe Bryant, his daughter Gianna, and the 7 others who were killed in a helicopter crash on January 26th will begin that memorial.
Just another distraction. It was sad that I went down, but how about the 1,000 babies that die every day through, more than that, probably 10,000 babies die a day in the United States through malnutrition, poor health care, and abortion, right? All three very easily taken care of, Birth control shouldn't just be in the hands of women, It takes two to tango.
And concerns that a Democratic socialist at the top of the ticket could spell disaster for the seats that flipped from red to blue in 2018.
Those of us in districts that Donald Trump won, every one of us understands what's at stake here. And if you look at what happened in 2018, not a single Sanders progressive beat an incumbent Republican. We picked up 40 Republican seats. Not one of them was won by a Sanders progressive. So
I don't know that the crew, those three women, they're beyond progressive. I mean, they're so far past socialism that
there is this fear out there, and I've heard it not just from members of Congress, but obviously from the rank and file, about Bernie Sanders. His supporters are saying.
So where does that fear about Bernie Sanders come from? It comes from the friggin' media. It comes from Bernie. I mean, I heard him say, he repeated the media, tripe about him being, getting in because Putin wants him there. You know how much money Putin spent on, social media, 2016, about $10,000. If he won, that is, the biggest. Who invented the internet? DARPA.
Here in Congress, and they want to maintain control of the House of Representatives and win control of the Senate. Now, the numbers tell the whole story. When you look at congressional endorsements of those who are running for president, Bernie Sanders has 8, and none of them are from races, from people who beat Republicans in 2018. They're all from progressives who have safe seats. Bernie Sanders
Now, Bernie Sanders really was one. This is what he needs to do. This next, debate they have, and they have that first 3 minutes to say whatever they want. He goes, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to announce my cabinet right here, right now. And from that point on, these people are going to go all across America, bringing across, a real picture of what I want to do and how I want to do it, and bring it to you, the American people. First person I would pick is Tulsi Gabbard as his vice president, because he will be the oldest person ever to be a president if they get him, right? And he's just had a heart attack. So if you put somebody in who's in their 30s, who's really vibrant, a go-getter, well, and her whole thing is to knock down the military-industrial complex. And here's a woman who's still serving in the military, right? And what does she do? She's serving in a MASH, the TV show MASH. She's serving in one of those, and so she sees the cost and waste of war, right? And that's why she's so dead set against it, right? And she's also been a congresswoman twice and been on all these committees. She knows what's going on. She has been a diplomat. She's gone out and taught, they go on and on and on. How she went to Syria and talked to Assad, and we put him in power back in the 60s, just like we put Saddam Hussein in power, just like we put everybody in power, right? And then we get rid of them when they don't do what we want, right? So, that for that. And then I would make Ralph Nader Attorney General, right? And then I would put Helen Kendicott, Dr. Helen Kendicott, in charge of healthcare, right? And I would put Coates, the guy who wrote, the World Against Me, right? And into HUD, right? And then I would put someone. I'd have to think deeper, but those are the kind of people I'm talking about, right? And say, okay, this is who my cabinet's going to be. And I would take a page from both Obama and Carrot Head's thing. And so as soon as he gets in, he doesn't put these folks in, charge of, to go in front of the Senate to get okayed. They'd be acting, right? So they can have 200 and something days of taking care of business. And they would hit the ground running right away, not trying to and get a good staff in there where they are there. They're not, they are the staff, and then they fix, and one of the good things that Donnie has done when he goes, I'm going after the swamp. Well, he has within all these like EPA, energy, education, he's destroyed them. So Bernie could rebuild them into a better thing, right? And put people in there that don't have to be okayed by the Senate, and put the people who are going to be hit in his cabinet as acting, right? And then get somebody who, because part of the rules is the second in command can take over when you go out, and they don't have to be okayed by the Senate, right? So he could do that, right? And he could do a ton of stuff with, presidential orders, right? And then he could do a pardoning where he could pardon, like 500,000 people who are in jail that shouldn't be there, not rich guys, not like Michael Milligan or whatever, or, Sheriff Joe. So Bernie could really be outside the box. But see, Bernie is part of the crew because he let Hillary take the 16 election, right? And her running against Carrot Head put Carrot Head as our president and allowed Joe Biden should be president, because if the vice president doesn't okay stamp of approval, the election can't go forward. So what even if we even get to a election, which I think we're going to have martial law, and this virus thing is going to be one of the excuses, and they're going to put up camps and take everybody away, right? And the hidden hand would be well served to hire me to be part of that, so it wouldn't, you always have to put somebody in the meat grinder so as not to grind, because if you become too like, every movie you watch, I keep talking about movies, they are a straight up example. Hey, if you do this is what's going to happen. So V for Vendetta is perfect, meaning if they go and do what I think they're going to do, well, what happened at the end of V for Vendetta will happen to the Mike Pence administration, right? Because he'll become, the Donald Sutherland of, the Hunger Games. And that's what happened. Look what happened to Donald Sutherland. He got whacked literally got whacked by a girl with a bow and arrow. That if he had not, taken that girl's little sister, none of that, they'd still be eating high on the hog in the Capitol. So all of this, all you got to do is watch movies. So I'm kind of stuck here because I can't really go anywhere, have no money, and so and I'm past taking care of my friend, but he likes the fact that I wash things up and I make stuff and feed the dogs and do all that stuff that and I really made the dogs a sweet bunch of because these are pretty big, they're bull mastiff Rottweilers, right? So they could. And they're around me. I just do this, and they all lie down. I do this, they stop, whatever they're doing. I do this, and they go, oh, oh, oh. I don't have to yell at them. I don't have to, when I let them out, the thing, they used to just chew, right? He would go screaming, that he has a nice little chime by the door, just bing, and they all run back, right? And that's because I connect with them. I am their alpha dog. I love them. They love me. I treat them nice, and I don't give them a bone every 20 seconds, right? When I have a meal, they sit down, they lie down at my feet. They don't beg, they don't, jump up in my lap, which is what they do to everyone that came before me. And I stay there, and I give them little morsels, right? And I put it on my finger, and it's not so, they get fed. That's the food that, they eat. But by sharing the little morsels, it's like I'm making them part of the scene, right? So, that's kind of where we're at, right? So we were basically in a point where we were going to meditate, right? So unless you guys have anything you want to add to the live chat, we're going to go back to the
fervent base like President Trump does on his side. I know that you guys want to run against Bernie Sanders. However, are you not, as a campaign strategist, impressed, concerned, whatever the right word is, that your opposition is generating a massive amount of fever on the ground?
I think what we're seeing is still that there's a very divided Democrat Party right now. And while, yes, Bernie Sanders is the leader so far,
and that's, the news is owned by the corporate state. So this is called propaganda, right? Noam Chomsky wrote a really great book called Manufacturing Consent, and that's what's going on here, right? So we've been chatting, or I've been, streaming my consciousness to you guys for an hour and 19 minutes. And so I asked you to get comfy and breathe. So you should have been breathing. And this is when I go and start to do this. This is what I do. I kind of 20% in, 30% out, 20% in. And I focus my concentration on, talking to you. That's why I can just stream, right? I'm, like I said, I think I'm the only person in the media who is not scripted, because I'm all over the place. Because there are people who can, but see, their party line is scripted. They're coming from a belief structure where they say the same thing over and over and over, and so it's like a broken record. So that's still, even though they don't have a teleprompter or a script in front of them, the script is like that little squirrel in their brain. Me, I'm just kind of cruising through my social subconscious here and talking to you as my cadre, right? But you've been breathing, and so how I do that, how I can do that and connect to you is through through my going into a shamanic state before I do this show. And now hopefully, in the last 20 minutes or so that I asked you to sit in a chair and relax and breathe 20% in, 30% out, that's what you've been doing even while you're listening to me. And that's why you haven't really been commenting, because you're in a meditative state, a self-aware meditative state, right? So let's go into the meditation, and we're going to look at these two things that's going on: the world of abundance, of love's co-creation, and the world of scarcity, of hate, fear, self-loathing, of the hidden hand, right? And I'm going to, as you are breathing in, focusing your conscious mind on your breath, I'm going to count from 1 to 3. And as I do, you're going to go into a deep, deep, deep state of conscious self-awareness that the masters would call meditation. See it clearly. And as you're breathing in at 20% and breathing out 30%, you're breathing in the prana. That is the life force of Father Sky, right? And it goes into your lungs, and because you're breathing in that 20%, your diaphragm lifts, your lungs open up, the little aola, the little bags with the cilia that capture the prana, it does that, and then as the blood gets pumped through your heart, pumps the blood through your lungs, it transfers the waste product of your body, which are mostly these chemicals that are transported out of your body through gas, right? And it's not just carbon dioxide, but it is all the other little atoms that are part of that CO2, right? And you breathe it out, right? And you expel more waste from your body through your breath than you do through urine or feces or sweat, right? And that's because you breathe out close to 40,000 cubic feet of breath every day, right? And when you breathe in deeply, 20%, you're breathing in that prana. That's the thing that animates the ugly bag of water, right? That's what makes you not a mud puppet, but an awake being, right? That's aware that it's in an avatar and you're moving forth. And as Buddha would say, that's when you are awake like that, when he's at the side of the road vibrating like a demigod, and some, traveler go, well, are you God? And Buddha says, no, I'm not God. Well, what are you? And Buddha would reply, I am awake. So there you are, awake at the side of the road of your life. And thus you realize that your avatar, your bag of water, is not who you are. So you don't have to be scared of the NCV-19, because more people die of the flu than this. They're just advertising it, They're scaring you. The people who run the money wants to crash it right now. So because they've already sold all of their holdings, just like Mr. Hathaway there. And, he's going to make a crap. He's bought silver and gold, when they're at the lowest, this year, and the last part of last year. And, silver was like at, $12. Now it's going to go up to like 1,000, right? Gold was like around 700. That's going to go up to 2,700, 27,000, right? So, and then, Bitcoin will go through, this is all scripted, gang. None of this is organic or natural. It's scripted because we're all, mind control while watching TV. We're all watching CNN, Fox, MSNBC. We believe that because we're part of that tribe. Instead of you being unaware and awake, and Warren calls it awoke, because when you're woke, WOK, you're not awakened or aware, you're woke, all that means is like you are anxious, you're self-conscious of that, your pit smell and your crapping in your pants, right? So see that clearly. And one, you're in a deep, 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 deep state of conscious realization. Your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath. And by doing so, you are bringing in the prana into your lungs, and your lungs are absorbing more prana than it normally does when it's on automatic of your autonomic nervous system that breathes for you. Because if you had to think about breathing, you wouldn't, and you'd keel over. Those people who are basically, you see in the videos in China that are walking and then keel over, what's happening to them is that they're going to acid, meaning their blood is becoming very acidic, right? And then their immune system is going totally nuts over that response to inflammation. And thus, it cuts your ability to breathe, thus cuts the level of your breathing in oxygen, and thus your blood pressure either goes, you burst a vessel, or you have the opposite and have, diabetes, and then there is being what's the opposite of that, where your blood sugar goes way down and your blood pressure collapses, and then you fall apart. Your hips give out, your knees. That's what happened. The big veins in your legs kind of give out, either blow out or give out. Whereas what happened to Joe Biden, and people going on about Bernie's health care. We should know everything about this guy. Well, Joe bled through his eyes during one of those things, and that was he's had seizures. He can't remember, if he had people dressing him, he'd be wearing his pajamas. Now, I'm not putting that down because I wear my pajamas all the time, right? So you're breathing deep, and you're sitting in a comfortable place, so you're safe, secure, warm, and you're going deeper and deeper, right? And you're shutting down that squirrel in your brain. You're shutting up the laundry list of irrelevancies that bring anxiety, that bring in bad thoughts, which then bring out bad words out of your mouth, which bring out bad actions, which bring out, bad activities, which bring bad outcomes, right? Whereas if you put in good thoughts, bring out good words, which bring out good actions, which bring out, good outcomes, right? So let's put in some good thoughts in our head right at this minute, and think of love's co-creation. Think of all those people you truly love beyond yourself, where you would jump on that grenade. Think of that, right? Think of the love you feel in your heart every time you do something nice for someone you don't know. You let them turn into traffic. You let them take that parking spot. You give somebody who's hungry a sandwich, right? See that clearly. And in that thought process of love's co-creation, the words that come out of your mouth. Now, these two prayers I'm going to pray, they're not Catholic prayers or Christian prayers or Hebrew prayers or Buddhist prayers or Islamic prayers. These two prayers are prayers of every religion. In every religion, in every language, these two prayers exist because the words that come out of your mouth by saying them create a harmonic. You tune the fork of your body, of your bag of water, right? You make that connection between your higher self and your avatar. And what is your avatar doing? But simply having experience that you can learn from, see it clearly. And our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. As it was in the beginning, is now, ever shall be, world without end. And in every day and every way we take the peace of the earth, and we make it stronger. And Father, bless us indeed. Enlarge our territory. Put your hand upon our shoulder and keep us from evil, so we will do no harm. And that's Father Sky, bringing the prana into us as we breathe. And as we breathe, we are sending that blood getting super enriched, supercharged by that prana, and it's going through our veins and our arteries and our smaller blood carrying transferal systems. Instead of blub, 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 as our heart pumps, it swirls. It swirls against the walls of the arteries and cells and veins in our body, clockwise. And inside of that swirl clockwise is a counterclockwise swirl. And inside of that swirl, there's another swirl going 90 degrees parallax clockwise. And what that is doing is making alternating current, because our blood is iron rich. So we are a polyphased, three-dimensional, right, flow of this current, right? And it's creating a scalar frequency, 16 dimensions. And instead of our bodies being light bodies of incandescent light, which is Luciferian, we are light bodies of photonic light, and that's love's co-creation. And incandescent light shows shadow. See the shadow, right? Well, light that is photonic, there is no shadow, right? And so when they detonate a nuclear blast, and that first crack of the whip of the nuclear explosion, there's a super bright light. It'll blind you, burn you, and it is 100% incandescent, because in Hiroshima, there were shadows of people when the blast went off. It was like behind them, and it made a shadow on concrete walls and then obliterated the bodies. So the only thing that was left of those folks was a shadow on the walls, and they found thousands of those. And that was a Luciferian, especially plutonium. What is Pluto? That's the god of the underworld, right? So that's why they named that man-made element after the god of the underworld, Lucifer. So as you're breathing in this photonic light and sending it throughout your body through the blood, it is super energized with that prayer that I just said. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as in heaven. This was here on earth. And we forgive those as we would wish others to forgive us. And as that blood is flowing through our body, all the way down to the molecular level, and that's where, it's going into our mitochondria. And you see, microscopic pictures of cell division, and you see the mitochondria like little lightning bolts on that cell, and then all of a sudden that energetics of the prana and photonic light that you see as little lightning bolts of the mitochondria it unzips the RNA molecule, and that opens up. And when you look down, you see the universe, beyond the universe. You see love's co-creation of Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. So that RNA splits up, right? We're looking down there. We're seeing the birth of a cell going into two cells, right? And that's Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women. Blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for our sinners now in the hour of our death. Amen. As was in the beginning, is now, ever shall be, world without amen. And in every day and every way, we take the piece of the earth and make it stronger with love's co-creation. And Mother, hear our prayer. Bless us indeed. Enlarge our territory. Put your hand on our shoulder to keep us from evil, so we will do no harm. And that is taking the good thoughts, bringing the good words, good actions, good deeds, good outcomes, right? And Jesus is the good outcome. It's not this one dude that, died on the cross for our sins. No. It's that presence that has always been here. Meaning, if Jesus wasn't here right now, this minute, on this show, right? Not me, but the energetics of that photonic light wasn't, shamanically going out to you, then, we would be toast. We would be this. We would be this.
Bring them into it. And you have to explain why Republicans don't want them to vote, what policies they want to keep in place, what power they want to hold on themselves, and what changes you would make if you had that power. And so I think we have to make a full-throated argument. Some of the ideas in here could,
the difference between Republican, Democrat, Labor, Liberal, Conservative, Fascist, it's all the same. It is all the same. There's only love, living your only reason we're here experiencing this is to come to the realization of love's co-creation, not the belief, but the faith. And here, not the belief up here in the scroll and the Rolodex and the metal box in your mind, but to truly be at one with love's co-creation, to serve love's co-creation in every action you do. That's why I do these live chats. I first spend an hour or two of prayer and get myself into a meditative state, a shamanic meditative state. And what is shamanism? It's no religion. It's no magic. It's no whoop-de-doo. No. It's nothing paranormal or occult or esoteric. No. Paranormal, not the normal. So it is not the normal, but it's not with ghosts and bad such. But, love's co-creation is on every level. So, love's co-creation made everything, even Satan, because none of this material, it's an illusion. It doesn't matter. All it is a playground, a sandbox for your soul to understand, because we were given a free will. And when Lucifer, who was running the hegemony of heaven, was replaced, by this newbie, this nascent thing called a loving, free-willed soul, because Lucifer didn't have that. He was being run by the book. He was top dog of the hegemony. He talked like this.
thank you. And that's it, though. Thanks for watching, and goodbye from London.
Goodbye from London, right? So, we're at a place where
here to drill down on the technicals of this sell-off. We welcome Katie Stockton. She's founder and managing partner of Fairlead Strategies. Katie, take us home. We've heard a lot this hour about the fundamentals, about the disease characteristics, about different parts of the world in the supply chain. You look at, quite simply, the charts, and what are they telling you about this market?
Well, this morning we did see a lot of gaps down. and that doesn't just go for the US, but also overseas. And that's a problem. It does reflect a loss of short-term momentum, and it comes from what was an overbought condition. So I do think that we assume the pullback will keep its hold here in the near term, but not to panic, not to really be reactive on these types of moves, because sometimes they do prove to be opportunities. When you tend to get...
And that's what they were saying in 2008, because when we were in this presidential election between Obama and McCain, they were both saying, oh, our economy is the best it's ever been, especially McCain, especially George W., saying how great everything was and how great a job he did. And within 2 weeks, it went, the stock market was up here to, it dropped 11,000 points, right? And if you were to take in the existential dynamic of it, it basically went to zero, right? And it was it's like the guys who come in and sell you, the mobster comes in and says, you better give us $500 by the end of the week or we're going to burn down your store, And that's on every level. We are at this same place, but it's mostly spiritual, right? We are causing people to have a traumatic fear, right? And between this virus and the stock market and the presidential election and all the fascists who are becoming heads of governments, Carrot Top went to India to go hang with Modi, who is like, Adolf Hitler on with a little, little bit of sugar makes the medicine go down. I mean, Modi cut their, it's as if Donnie said, okay, $5 bill, $10 bill, $20 bill, and Benjamin, I'm taking off the table, right? You can't have that. You can't use that in buying your groceries. You can't do it doing anything. Sorry, right? All you can use is your credit card, and that's it, right? Get rid of your debit card, so just your credit card. So when you have to buy your necessities, it's like a private tax. You're also going to be paying whatever interest that credit card charges you, right? And that's what they did in India, right? And the poor people who had no credit ratings, which was like, 3/4 of the population, whoa. But after that, the rich people went to the roof. So that's where we're at now. We're at this very trepidatious thing, and they could very easily try to wipe out, 3/4 of the population. That's, you go see the Georgia Stones, that's what they're talking about. You go look at Agenda 21, you go listen to, stopthecrime.net, this is what it's talking about. But that's all, again, fear-based, whereas the reality of life is love's co-creation. When you're looking down, watching your mitochondria zip open the RNA, and there you're looking down at the universe, the creation of the universe, all you can see is love, photonic light. So I want you to take that photonic light and put it in your imaginary mirror, and that's right behind your eyelids, right where you see, dream time, right? And one side of the screen, you hear this.
From companies to try to contain this outbreak.
Let's start at the New York Stock Exchange. Dow down more than 1,000 points at the lows of the day just a few moments ago. Bertha Coombs is there for us. Hi, Bertha.
Hi, Kelly. Yeah, the Dow taking out its January lows today and actually dropping below 28,000 for the first time since December 12th. Tech names like Apple, with strong exposure to China, certainly getting hit hard and being a drag. Chip makers among the biggest losers today. The semi index now nearly 9% below its historic high, which is just last week, as concerns grow about growing supply destruction within Asia, with the surge in cases now in South Korea, major electronics market. We also have seen the consumer names, Tapestry leading the sell-off in that group, while Carnival and Norwegian Cruise Lines both crashed down to new lows today. Health insurers are also a big drag. United, one of the biggest drags on the Dow, though they're not expected to see much impact from the coronavirus here at home. At this point, the concern there is about Medicare for All, as Senator Bernie Sanders put in a decisive win in Nevada over the weekend, following a big win in the New Hampshire primary. That sector also down 9% from last week's historic highs. Finally, bucking the trend at the opposite end, Gilead hitting a new high today.
Okay, so in your imaginary mirror, you're looking over there. You're looking at all of that fear porn, right? And then the other side over here, you're looking at who and what you are. You're looking at your heart. You're seeing the only way this current flows through your lungs and through your veins and into your cells is that you are grounded. You are held in your chi, and your chi is your mother earth. So prana comes from your father sky and flows into mother earth. And then the photonic light comes from earth. It comes up just like water. Water doesn't fall out of the sky. No, it comes from the earth and goes up and it comes down, right? And falls on the surface of the earth, right? And that's the same with lightning. Lightning doesn't strike it down. It basically, there are these little streamers of a current of love, co-creation, comes forth from Mother Earth. And Father Earth responds with the discharge of current from the unlimited current that is known as the ether or 0 point energy. And that's what Franklin was doing with the kite and the key. He was demonstrating the unlimited force of, what is this maniac, moron out there in a kite with a key? He wanted to show the flow of current, right? The discharge, right? And him on the ground was like the chi and the flow from, right? So you're looking over at unlimited, flow of love's energy. And then over here, you hear.
Was urging other members not to come forward to authorities. So that city, Daegu, has been gripped in a lot of chaos. The city businesses have not been functioning well, just like here in China. And there hasn't yet been any clear link to China with Daegu or with that particular church. But that church, which is quite secretive, does have a branch in Wuhan. So in South Korea, there's been a lot of speculation that could be the link. Brian?
We've been talking, and you've been sort of not only reporting through this, Eunice, but obviously living through this. I mean, you have to deal with this every day. In addition to simply going about your job, you try to get food. What is the situation versus a week ago? The number of people on the streets, the number of people in the stores, the number of people that you simply encounter on a daily basis. What, if anything, has changed?
Well, there are more people on the streets, and I noticed actually this weekend that there appears to be more expatriates who've returned. And I think that just because the situation has been going on for so long, there have been more people who've felt that they needed to come back to try to get business going again. And we've heard, that there's been a lot of discussion about how it's important to get the production up.
If they do that, and they bring out populations who've been hiding out under the couch, who, see, the thing about this disease, you can be infected with it, and you won't know it from infection time up to 40 days. I say 14 days, but I'm starting to see that people can be, and so you can transmit that disease in that period where you feel fine, but you're still infected. You can transmit it. And all you have to do is pick your nose and rub on a table, and then somebody else comes by and rubs your hand and then rubs their eye, and bingo. So that's the big problem of the way this is communicated, this virus. And so people have been, locked in their house, for the last, 20 days. And now they're, they got to get food, they got to get out, they got to, make some money, go to work. And, the government needs them up and running. And that's when the real upspike could happen. Now, if it doesn't happen, then this is just another SARS, and it'll burn itself out by April. But if it bounces back up in a real big way,
it does not make the top 50 percentage drop simply as the numbers get larger. It is serious, though. Is it the beginning or the end?
It's impossible to tell, unfortunately, Brian, but I will say one of the things that is probably weighing on the market is the data is starting to come through. So, we first encountered this issue in January 22nd, obviously there's not going to be much, even the high frequency data isn't going to respond to it. We now see data like, small business in China activity plunging, other activity really pulling back. So I think part of it is just the personification of this concern is starting to come through.
Mona, as you look at the markets, we've talked a lot now about, kind of where the damage is centered and what it might look like moving from China to other parts of the world. Do you think anything's out of whack to you, or does it all make sense? The fact that yields are at record lows and the stocks are only off, what are we even off from the highs? About 5%. I mean, does that make sense, or is it going to be deeper than that?
It's interesting. We came into this year with a kind of a barbell approach on from investors on technology on one hand. So we saw large cap tech really outperform. But on the other hand, given the advent of coronavirus, we really saw this defensive play come into action. So yields, US dollar, gold, even the REITs and utilities sectors, all, bond proxies, all outperforming. Where we have concern now is that tech sector, which had been the leading performer in the S&P. It is also directly in the line of fire when it comes to supply chain disruption, directly in the line of fire when it comes to the spread and the reduced demand from the global markets, very much multinational, very much dollar exposed. So we could see some volatility coming out of some of these leading sectors here. But that being said, the defensive play probably in the near term, okay. So I think that's an interesting dichotomy we'll see in the market.
Well, I think the surge in cases in Korea, where there's a lot of tech supply coming from, that's certainly impacted things. And you see the stocks down. We think we were saying it's almost down 10%. What I think is the craziest thing about all of this is that China is down less than the U.S. and Europe are from its highs. And I mean, the color that Eunice was just giving us earlier, that things aren't back to normal by any stretch, but at least it's not getting worse. Last Friday, we were talking about how our most important chart to watch was cases outside of China. And then Saturday, it just exploded higher. So I think the fact that the market's down a lot like this today, I don't think is surprising, given that people are rightly to be concerned that it may be spreading. We don't know where it's going to go. That's the problem. But, and as Jack was saying, as data starts to come in, only time is going to tell.
We should mention we're down about more than 1,000 points right now. The lowest, we're down to 1,073. We're down about 1,010 right now. But one of the things you raised, Paul, I'm just curious about, because we hear this a lot when you say, look, the Chinese, this is not getting worse. How do you know? I mean, and not just you, how does anybody know? Are we to take basically at face value the information that we're given? Or is there the sense that, I go back even to the report about how the thermometers, they might be using the wrong kinds. I mean, is there a sense that we can trust the information they were giving us when it comes to coronavirus?
Well, you saw the WHO say that there was some quote unquote real progress. So I think that's,
Okay, so that's why I'm doing this. This is one of those days when people go, well, when we really went off the cliff, it was Monday, February, whatever this is. So, and a week from, is it today Monday? No, today's Tuesday. So, it'll be March. I don't know what day is it. See, I don't go anywhere, so I lose track what day it is. But you guys, you were all sitting in your chairs, lying in your beds, with your eyes closed, and you're in your imaginary mirror, and you've just looked at the dichotomy, duality, and that's the thing about the illusionary world. It's this duality, right? And so we're seeing this duality between the material illusion and love's co-creation's reality, right? So I want you to, and all around you, you see this photonic light. So there are no shadows. When you're looking at this,
that price growth would just match earnings growth, and earnings growth for the year is already starting to get knocked down. So I do think that there are some pressure points related to valuation. What I'm writing about this week is really the bigger issue, and that is, will many of these tech companies, will many government...
That right there is the illusion, the shadow, right? And what is photonic, no shadow at all, is love's co-creation. So I want you to take that photonic light and shine it into your subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind isn't where the monsters live. It isn't the scary place that Freud talks about. Your subconscious mind is the library of your Akashic record. And your Akashic record is the record of your soul, right? We experience everything in the sandbox here as a linear world, Big Bang, boom, and the universe is expanding out there. No. The Old Testament, they talk about God being the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. And it all happened. The Big Bang was this. And what that was Lucifer was so pissed off, like a little child, I want my way, I want my way, I was the head of heaven, I'm the top dog, I was making this free will, why God, boom, that was the Big Bang. And that was the explosion of the old hegemony. It doesn't exist anymore. All that exists is love's co-creation. But Lucifer, and that great illumination of incandescence, created an illusion. And love went along with it because love wanted this new thing called a free-willed soul to choose freely. And the only way that could be brought forth was for the soul to experience this illusion, right? And see the choice, right? Now, it being a young child, the soul is just brand new. And so how could, just like a baby is born and, so it needed to have this experience. And could you get all the experience of the universe in one lifetime of somewhere between 60 years and 200 years? No. So that's why reincarnation is. You have over and over and over. Now, the dynamic of karma allows the reference of your experience of this life to influence your next. So if you are really focusing on wanting to be aware of conscious, of being there with your free will, like you are now, right? In this state of meditation. That's why meditation is important, And the best time to practice is before you go to sleep and after you wake up. Before I go to sleep, I put myself in a meditative state and view the experiences I want in dream time. And that's why I named this channel Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al-Bob, is that I want to, every night I go to sleep and I kind of, experience a whole another life. There's this daytime life and my nighttime life, right? And so, this is the illusion.
Said it's not clear that rate cuts are the right answer.
Here we are confronting, a health issue that may well have a spillover into macroeconomics, but it is not 100% clear that having interest rates, 25 basis points lower is likely to have a direct impact on the ability to manufacture goods or to get people back to work. And that's clearly one of the questions that the Fed has to think about.
Going back to Oxford, they're looking for U.S. growth of only 0.5 point this quarter, just 1.4% for the full year. Goldman also downgrading the first quarter outlook, but sees a sharp rebound in the second quarter. Fed officials, for their part, they've said they would wait for signs that the outlook has changed materially before committing to rate cuts, guys.
Steve, stay with us.
And what is the Federal Reserve? It's another illusion. It's a, three-card Monte. It's a privately stock-held corporation that prints money and sets interest rates, right? Has nothing to do with the government. Zip. Federal Express and Federal Reserve are equally representing the government. They don't. They're companies. They're corporations. They have, the banks are the stockholders. And we only have, 5, 6 banks instead of the 50,000 we used to have. So, see all of the illusions. See love's co-creation. And now take that photonic light and focus it into your subconscious. And you walking into your subconscious mind, you see it's a library. And in front of you is this fireplace, right? Look like it's made out of big, big stones. But those are books, and you are seeing those are the Akashic records. And that fireplace is the blue flame of the eternal flame, right? Of love's co-creation's heart is that blue flame, right? And in front of the fireplace are these nice lounge chairs, just like this nice one I'm in. And you are seeing, life, love, co-creation right in front of you. See it clearly. And in every day and every way, you take the piece of the earth and you make it stronger, right? And all around you in your library, right, are these big Akashic records. And to your left of your fireplace and your lounge chairs is right in front of them is your reading table and your reading chair like this, and your photonic light above that shines and illuminates everything without shadows. And to the left of you is your librarian who brings you your Akashic records, bring you the information, your animal totem, which is your griot for you there in your library, who you may read stuff or see stuff or experience stuff in your Akashic record, but you may not understand it. Yeah, that's why you have animal totem to guide you, to be your griot, to tell you a story where you go, oh, I see it now. That's what I do. I'm your griot of Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob, because I'm your sensei, your teacher, and I'm a storyteller that tells you a story that you go, oh, that's what he's talking about. Teachers may tell you stuff, you may not understand it, right? And when you took notes in school, you didn't do it to remember stuff. You did it to understand, because when you hear something, you write it down. That's when you go, oh, that's what it's called, a gestalt, lightning understanding, right? And then to your left of your animal totem is your guardian angel, who always has your back, because you may learn things that might scare the crap out of you, but if you know you got somebody who's you can really trust, who got your back, So that's what that's about. And then to your right, you have these 9 doors, right? One of those 9 is always open. That goes to your sanctuary of your own choosing. You go through that door. There's some steps that go over a bridge. That's your id. And then you go down into your superconscious mind, the sanctuary of your own choosing. And from the top of that bridge, you look down and you can see the meadow, your picnic meadow. In front of it is a gazebo, a stage with steps that go up there. But if you were to go up there and look around, you'd have the overstanding of your life's situation. And to the east of that is the Great Lake of the Link and the Tree of Knowledge and the Tree of Life, where down at the roots you can go through the little rabbit holes that take you into different worlds, right? The back door, that's the back door. When you go through any of those worlds through the back door, they can't see you. Now, the other 8 doors and the 9 doors are doorways into those worlds. And when you knock on the front door, they know who's there. So you can't go through that front door unless you bring a guide. And the guide you need to take is someone like the old crone, or Jesus, or Buddha, or Maya Baba, or any one of those kind of personalities that you identify with, that give you the most grace. Because when you are with a master, you are serving your master. And when you serve your masters in love's co-creation, you are graceful, you are generous, you're empathetic. And those 3 characteristics are they're way stronger, way better than carrying a gun or a knife or some weapon, And love's co-creation of empathy, grace, kindness, generosity, hospitality. These are all tools, and that's, religions that are based on Christianity, Judaism, Islam. Islam is based on hospitality. Now, you see some, stuff with the army guys in Afghanistan, and they're always going into town and going to the elder and sitting down and having tea with them. Now, if you blow that up, oh, I'm too busy to have tea. Well, then they're like looking at you like you are a barbarian. Sit down, have tea, You talk. That's the way it works, right? That's part of Sharia law, not cutting off heads. Nowhere in Sharia law does it say that, right? In Sharia law, they don't have capital punishment. No, they talk about cutting off hands, right? If you steal something, that merchant can have your hand cut off. But that merchant will get, he says, I want that guy's hands cut off. Well, first, they will cut both of his hands off because in Islam, it's based on hospitality. And if you see someone who needs something and you don't give it to them, that's a worse crime than if that person stole it because you're motivating them to steal it. And those are the basis. I mean, Sharia law is more than that, but that is the basic, at least my basic interpretation of it, right? So you're seeing all this stuff. This is all coming at you here. You go over, you sit down at your reading table, and your librarian comes over and brings you this big book, leather bound and gold around the edges of the pages. And you open up the book, and it lays out in front of you. And there's 2 blank pages. Put your right hand on the right page and your left hand on the left page, and you lean into it, and you eliminate all the fear, all the anger, all the hate, all the self-loathing, all the anxiety into your Akashic record. And all this gunk, all this, fecal violence goes into your Akashic record, and then boom, you close the book. It's no longer in you. It's totally out of you. Like how you go to sleep. Oh, I can't go to sleep. I'm thinking about that jerk. What terrible thing he said in the office. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, what that person did to me. Oh, how they took I got that speeding ticket. No. You eliminate, you evacuate all that emotion into your Akashic record, right? And you open it up. No longer, it's not like just, that's what a Rorschach check is. That's where they got the idea of the Rorschach, from the Akashic record, because that's all the gluck that's there. But if you use, instead of what does that look like to you? No. If you open the book, now you see that Rorschach blob on a screen, right? Just like this screen here. You see it on a screen. And around that screen, there are 28 little screens. And you're seeing the glob, and you're seeing the 28 little things. And those are 28 different dimensions. The front, the back, the side, up, the down. And you can see exactly what happened and why it happened. Oh, I shouldn't have got upset at that. That guy says, well, look at that. That was terrible. I won't do that mistake again. And if you use your Akashic record to do that, and that's what I do when I go to sleep, I put all of that into my Akashic record and I see it, right? And out of those 28 little screens, I get different perspectives, and I will pick however many to dream about, look at, see, go in more in a 3D kind of way. And that's what Freud was all about, dreams, because he was looking at the 3D mentality of who and what you are through your dreams. Then he'd write it down. He was listening, it would write it down, and he would give his interpretation, right? That's Freudian psychology, right? And so, the big picture is you understanding what it is, right? And you get that through your Akashic record. Otherwise, if you are just going by what your hormones are telling you, you are just, digging yourself deeper and deeper into being a mud puppet, right? And, being subjected to the illusion of a Luciferian fear-based reality, which isn't real. It's an illusion. The only thing that's real is love's co-creation. See that clearly. And 2, you're in a deep, 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 deep state of conscious relaxation. The little squirrel in your head is going to sleep, and you no longer are motivated by your organic illusion, right? You are now illuminated by the photonic light of the prana that's coursed through your bag of water and grounded into your Mother Earth through your chi, and you are reaching what the Greek healers would call homeostasis, balance, right? And you are seeing all the things that are relevant, all those 28 dimensions, and you're seeing everything, and it's like giving you a really amazing perspective, right? So close the book again after seeing all this stuff, and then open it up, and the screen is there. And now you can move your hand along the gold edges of the pages, and it's like a mouse, right? And you're putting the cursor on all the different past lives, because all the past lives, present life, and future lives are in your Akashic record, and you can view them, right? Now, the future is a little dimmer because it bands on, even though, we're not on a linear thing, you're experiencing it in linear. So you're wearing these glasses of linear time. So the future is a little blurrier, but you can see trends. That's what I do. I look at trends. I can't say, just, don't tell you, this horse is going to win this race, but I can give you trends, right? Well, this is how I do it. This is how you can do it, right? So you're seeing this very clearly, and I want you to take the time to look at past lives, and I want you to run that cursor all the way back to the beginning and see what you came to this universe as, flake of dust, a grain of sand, a photon of light, and then see what you went from there, and and see the path that you're taking and what lessons you want to learn, and see how you play them over and over again, or the ones you learn and you go up a little and play them over and over again, and then you go, and that's what reincarnation's about, and then you hit this thing, and because of certain karmic elements, you get, you're really brought up on your short hairs, and you can fall back down and then have to come back up, But Love's Co-Creation gives us as much time as we need to come to the realization of what our soul is about. So see that clearly. See that realization. Feel it in your heart. And when you feel that, that's what you're feeling is love. When you've ever really felt unconditional love, whenever, something's happened, especially it's usually in a trauma, a medical trauma, a physical trauma, like car crash or a violent situation, you are brought to this fork in the road, right? Where you're either going to go really negative, fight or flight, or you're going to go into the more loving. And that's why guys in war, some jump into the foxhole to try and get away from that explosion. Others jump on the grenade because they love all the people around them so much. They've been through so much with those people in a short period of time that they love them to the point where they're ready to sacrifice themselves. And that's the ultimate, when you can sacrifice yourself. So my day and every way, I go through my life. So people would go, how can you do that? How can you deal with all these people who are really terrible to you and mean and cruel and, like the canary in the coal mine, how can you do that? Because I care about who and what they are, what they're going through. I have empathy for them. And so I can be unconditionally loving because I know, A, it's okay, right? B, it's not going to last forever, right? I'll either be in another life, what's the worst can happen to me? I can, die. Well, I've died 6 times already, right? And when I died in that, the last 12 years of my life, I was so unconscious and living in a total hedonist, materialist world, because I had to go through that, and so it's like Marx talking about getting to pure, socialism, and that you have to be a capitalist and a communist and this kind of socialism, and then you get to this place where you have this unconditional love and you share everything with everyone, and it's okay, right? And everyone gets what they need, right? And those rise to the source of what they need, right? So, and if you studied Marx better, you would realize that everything that people blab about in a ideological point of view is totally wrong. When they call oh, we can't have Bernie, he's a socialist, and Bernie, because he's part of that crew, he actually goes along with, he's not a socialist, he's totally not a socialist, he is something else. He's Bernie, Bernieism, he's feeling the burn, and if you go to that Showtime channel and watch their, it's called Cartoon President, it really is great, and Stephen Colbert is the producer, created that show. And he went from having his, cable show to going to, the, Tonight Show, or whatever show he said. And so he has to do what the man tells him. So he's like, basically a prostitute. So he does this cartoon thing to, kind of try and save his soul. So go watch that. It really, really, so their take on all of those people, Donnie, Mickey, Bernie, Hillary, you name it. It's Billy Boy. It's really quite amazing. So, and that's the beauty. That's what humans do the best. No matter how they are corrupted, no matter how they're perverted, no matter what corner they're in, they have an element in them that reflects that photonic light of love's co-creation, right? So I want you to see that in you, in your Akashic record. See it now. I'm going to be quiet, right? I'm going to let you see it clearly. And two, in a deep, deep, deep state of conscious relaxation, you've illuminated yourself and taken that photonic light to illuminate your subconscious mind and see it as your library of your Akashic record. You have eliminated and evacuated all the anger and fear and hate and self-loathing and anxiety out of your bag of water to the point where you are clear, And every religion, even Scientology, has a reference point to this clarity, right? See it clearly. And L. Ron Hubbard's science fiction books have more to do with reality than the Bible does, So just take that one in, gang. See it clearly. And you have lightened yourself to the point where you're floating like a balloon. So I want you to get up from your reading table and float over to that open door into your Akashic record, right? And you walk up to the steps of the bridge of your id from your subconscious to your superconscious mind, and you're at the top now of the bridge. You're looking down. You're getting an overstanding, an overview, overstanding, not understanding. You don't want to understand. That's being underneath the standing where someone's stepping on your neck. You want to overstand. See it clearly. To take a good look at your sanctuary. See the meadow. See the gazebo. See the lake. See the tree of knowledge, tree of life. See the above in the north, the big circus tent of all the fun stuff you can do, the carnival, all of the things that can draw your interest, right? And then to the west of that, you see your house, right? Our house. It's our house. And that is the Oracle of Delphi, right? And that looks just like Frank Lloyd's Wright house in Pennsylvania called Falling Water. And you walk through these big high doors that are 40 feet high, and above them says, know thyself. You walk through that door, you're starting to know yourself. To the right are these 9 doors, right? And those are all closed. and you can't go through them without a guide, right? And you're in the big hall. So, and in the big hall on one side, on the right-hand side, are the 9 doors that are closed. But you're already in your sanctuary of your own choosing. You're already there. And to the left is the coat room, right? And that takes you into other people's sanctuary, right? And when you're in your library of your own conscience, that big fireplace is just like Harry Potter. You can bring forth masters through the chimney, and that's why those nice, comfy lounge chairs are there. Or to when your guests come down the chimney, they can sit there and you can have tea and crumpets, right? And then after you talk about where you want to go, they'll take you through one of those 8 doors in your library that are closed that you can't go through without a guide. Whereas the 9 doors here, because you're in your house, right? Our house. There are a lot of guides right here, right? And that's what the coat room is. You go look for someone, who you feel comfortable in their coat. They can go with, and you can have a big crew. You don't have to, you can have as many folks to go through that, doorway as you want to, right? A cadre. And then at the end, it opens up into the Hedgerow Longhouse, which is a big hambu where we all go in and we sit around the fire. And that's where we suss, and everyone's voice gets heard. And there's only truth there because the Hedgerow Longhouse is the hambu. Hedgerow is all around it. And that's like the protection of the gate. It's like in Ireland and in France, where the hedgerows, you couldn't get through them. So if you were on one side, your enemy couldn't get through. They'd go 20 miles up there, go through the opening, and come back. So visualize all this stuff, right? See it clearly. I'm going to be quiet again, and you're going to see all this stuff. So the Hedgerow Longhouse is at the end of the Great Hall. At the end of the Great Hall, there's that, and then to the right of that is the Bay Dining Hall, right? Where it's just like Harry Potter's with the floating candles and all the food that you ever wanted to eat on the table. And you're there with your friends, and up on the dais are all our masters, right? Who are there to overstand your life, right? When in the Great Hall, so to the right is the dining hall, straight on is the Hedgerow Longhouse, and to the left are your doorways to your own individual hambu, right? A place where you can go. It's like your home within your sanctuary. So there's a big house, and in that big house, that we have our own little hambus. It's just like a hobbit house. Has a garden in the back, has its own little pond, has its own little tree of life and knowledge, and there's a shortcut from our hambu into our library, right? It's like down the hall. So we don't have to go all the way through, right? We can just, go from one to the other. So see it clearly. See all of this clearly. See it clearly. I'm going to be quiet, and you're going to go on a 3-week vacation in the sanctuary of your own choosing and see that this is a great tool. It's got all these tools that you can use. And, it's 1 second in this material illusion world is equal to however much time you want in your sanctuary of your own choosing. See that clearly. So now you're going to go experience this, and I'm going to be quiet. And 3, you're in a deep, 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 deep state of relaxation. Your conscious mind is totally focused on your breath. The squirrel in your head is totally asleep. You're not feeling anxious at all. And the only thoughts that are there are good thoughts. The only words you're uttering are good words that bring forth good examples of your action, which bring good deeds and good outcomes. See it clearly. And you've just had 3 weeks of a vacation. You feel refreshed. You feel joy. You just went through movies and dancing and having love with love's co-creation, and everyone else you care about is there. And you feel great. You feel the best you ever have. You feel loved. You feel healthy. You feel balanced. And this is what I have to do every morning. And I suggest you do it too. So when you go to sleep, you go into state, you evacuate all your anger, your fear, etc. Then you look at it in your Akashic record, you get a perspective. Then you look at the 28 little screens and you see, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, 28 different things to dream about. And you tell yourself, I want to dream about this. Right? And I want to remember it clearly. And when I wake up, I want to be able to remember that dream. So you go, you dream it, you are in dream time, right? With dreamland, with your sensei Al Bob. I'm always there to help. Tell you a story as your griot. Then you wake up. Instead of your feet hitting the floor and running off, you stay there and you think about what my dreams were about. You grab your little phone, hit record, because pretty much every smartphone has a recorder in it. And you go, wow, I just dream about blah, 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 blah. Your subconscious is not, you got to write your dreams down. You can't. But you can talk about them. You know, like when I was a shrink, I did not hand to people a pad of paper and say, write your dreams down. I said, so what'd you dream about, right? How do you feel, right? And I'd write it down, or I'd record it, right? And then I play it back for them, and they would write it down. And they go, wow, I didn't feel, oh, wow, that's what's going on. Oh, wow, 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 right? And they'd have these gestalts, lightning understandings. So if you do that every morning, that's how I get up. Instead of staying in bed and feeling even worse, I do that, and I bring forth homeostasis. You know, my blood sugar is like this all over the place. You know, all of my other things that are wrong with me are like this, but I meditate and I bring it into a homeostasis. That allows me to get out of bed, put my little shower shoes on, and take a shower. And after I take a nice hot shower, I dry myself off. I put the shirt I'm going to wear in the dryer with the pants I'm going to wear and the socks I'm going to wear, and hit the dry button. And I let it go for about less than a minute and take off that shirt. And it's warm. Put on those pants and they're warm. I put those socks and they're warm. And then I put the braces on my legs, and then I put my orthopedic shoes on and lace them up, and I can walk. It's a miracle, right? And I feel, I feel fine. I feel good. I feel loved and blessed, right? Now, I still feel, all the things that are going on in my body and my fingertips, and I feel it in my organs, because I'm so aware. I can feel all my organs, and what's going on, and I can try to get them to go into homeostasis, right? And I keep telling you guys, I have a limited warranty, but who knows how long that's going to be, I've already survived, 6 years ago when I died in that plate of spaghetti. Let's see, how long has it been? 2004, right? So I guess that's 6 years, give or take, right? And so you don't, everything that was wrong, that put me in that emergency room, that put me in that ICU, that put me on that gurney heading for the operating room where they were going to give me a quadruple bypass and cut my legs off. I still have that, but my legs are still on, and they haven't cut me up, and my blood pressure, yeah, normally it's, 140 over 70, give or take, but sometimes, 170. My blood sugar, normally, 91 to 111, but sometimes 285, So homeostasis is something that I have to keep a handle on. But as the years go by, it takes its toll on a certain every 7 years you're a totally new person cellularly. So, well, I have nothing drastically wrong with me. My endocrinologist makes the same joke every time I see him every 6 months. Oh, you're the healthiest dead guy I know, because he was around when I was kind of heading the other way. And they take care of me because they're amazed that I'm still alive. I'm like this one doctor. I signed this thing that allows him to, I'm his guinea pig, So, so instead of paying $3,000 for every procedure he does to me, I don't have to pay anything because I'm his guinea pig, right? And enables I get better health care because it's not just what he does to me. Every time I see him, every 90 days, he does a full body exam, and every 180 days, he does a full blood panel, right? So that's way better than if I had, Bernie care, So anyway, and 3, you're in a deep, deep, deep state of relaxation. You're in your sanctuary of your own choosing, and you feel great. You feel the best you've ever felt. You feel you're crying because you can feel love's co-creation inside of you. Everything that you've ever experienced about love, instead of feeling a sense of loss, you're feeling a sense of you're ecstatic, right? So I'm now going to count from 3 to 1, and when I say 1 the last time, I'm going to snap my fingers. You're going to be right back here, ready to tell us in the chat how you feel about your experience, right? And those of you who are along for the ride, like, when I end this up and it gives me the algorithms of who was watching what, right now it says there are 3 people watching, right? But when I end this and I look at it, usually it's like, 28 to 50 people were watching and 3 were chatting, So, feel free. A lot of you watch this for a lot and, just kind of chat once in a while. So I'm going to count from 3 to 1. And when I do it, I'm going to snap my fingers. And when I finish snapping my fingers, you're going to be 100% back in your avatar, feeling great. Your body's going to be as close to homeostasis as you can physically make it. See it clearly. And 3, you're in a deep, deep, deep state of conscious relaxation. You have illuminated yourself with your breath. You've taken that prana that comes from Father Sky that you breathe in to, create a photonic energy flow between Father Sky and Mother Earth. That's your chi. And you've cleansed every cell of your body, and you've taken that photonic light, and through the mitochondria, you've watched every cell go through mitosis, and the RNA unzips like a zipper, and you look in there and you see the universe. You see it clear. You took that light and you've illuminated your subconscious, and you saw that it's simply a library of your soul's experience. It's not a scary place. And there are the 9 doors, and the 9th door is always open because that's the doorway to the sanctuary of your own choosing, your super conscious mind. And as soon as you walk through the doorway, you go up some steps, go over the bridge of your id, right? But now you're reversing that thing. You're walking over the bridge, your hand is on the railing, your feet are on the steps. You go up to the top of the bridge, you look down, you're overstanding everything, all the things you experienced, all and the picnics, the swimming in the Great Lake, going through the little rabbit holes of the tree of knowledge and the tree of life, and the gazebo, going up there and get a 360 panorama, view of your sanctuary. And if you have a question, you just think of it, speak it out loud, turn around 180, and there'll be a person in front of you who will give you the answer, right? So see all this clearly, see all this enlightenment, see all this understanding, and don't let it go away. Oh, that was just a daydream. Oh, you have to suspend your disbelief. Right now we believe in things that we shouldn't, and we have faith in nothing, right? We have to not believe in anything, but we believe in our faith of love's co-creation. That's the that's the thing we don't believe in, so we have to suspend that disbelief, right? So we can have faith, right? We disbelieve everything that we believed in because it's an illusion, and we have faith in love's co-creation. See it clearly. And you're walking off the bridge and you're going into your subconscious mind and you bow respectfully, right? You bow respectfully to your librarian, and your librarian bows to you, and gives you a big smile. You bow to your animal totem, and your animal totem bows back. You bow to your guardian angel, and your guardian angel bows back to you. And two, you're in a deep, deep, deep state of relaxation. You've illuminated yourself through your breath, breathing in that 20% and breathing out that 30%, evacuating all the anger, the fear, the hate, the self-doubt, the self-loathing, the anxiety. And now you feel light as a balloon. You're free as the breeze. And the only thing that's animating you is love's co-creation. See it clearly. And really look at your librarian. What does your librarian look like? See it clear, remember it, right? Remember all of this. See your animal totem. What animal is your animal totem? Remember it. See it clearly. Remember all of this. Remember your guardian angel. Your guardian angel always has your back. Whether you're in your sanctuary or not, your guard, all of these guides are there. And that's why you can connect to this like just closing your eyes and one big breath. I'm in state. I'm in my library. I see my librarian. See it? You're there with me, and see my librarian. My librarian is the old crone. See the old crone. See the old crone clearly. And see my animal totem. My animal totem is Balto, the wolf dog, right? And Balto, standing on all fours, is about 4 foot high and about 6-7 feet long from nose to butthole, and from nose to tail, he's about 8 feet. Right? He's got a big fluffy tail, and his hair is his tail is like the hair of a calico cat, all different colors. Right? And Balto has very dark parts and very white spots with dots in it. He's almost like the yin yang, right? He's kind of a cross between an Appaloosa horse and a yin yang. And his head is like he's got the hair of a wolf lion, right? And he's got this long snout and big mouth. I wouldn't say an alligator, but a good, very, big enough mouth to put almost anything in and chomp down on it, right? So, and he's got these legs that are like the legs of a horse and the paws of a bear. That's Balto. And he speaks the most eloquent English. Whereas my librarian is more or less telepathic. She speaks, but she can metamorph into, from about 7 years old to 1,000 years, right? And my guardian angel is 22 feet tall, a wingspan of 40 feet, and has about 20 swords. It's got blades hanging them all out of it. And my guardian angel, even though I say it's a him, because he's got muscles like a linebacker, it also looks like a woman, It has this, wouldn't quite call it androgynous. It's like more superior. If you've ever seen the movie Doctor Strange, And Dr. Strange makes it, to Kuala Lumpur or wherever that city and finds the ashram that his master is at, right? The eternal. That's my guardian angel. And my guardian angel never really talks unless it has something to say. Like, stop, go, get out of here, or watch out for this, or something a little more eloquent. But so those are my guides. And your guides are yours. But I shared those with you in state so you could get a real sense, because they're very powerful and they can bleed into almost any reality, right? So they can go into yours. But they had to be with me. I mean, if I'm in your space, your state, if I go into state with you and I'm there with you, you can see my guides, but you're not seeing them unless I'm there with you. So, because they're my guides. And vice versa, right? So, see that clearly. And you walk forth from your library, your Akashic record, and you walk into your, illuminated mirror behind your eyelids, and you are feeling where, you're coming back into your avatar, and you feel your body, and you feel where you're sitting, where you're lying, where you're being, and you have remembered this experience 100%, and you will go practice it when you go to sleep, when you wake up, and any other time. Because, if you're stressed, go into state. Breathe that 20% in, that 30% out, and you will go into state. You can look in your Akashic record. How do I deal with this? And look at it. There it is on the screen, 28 little other angles of what's going on, right? You want to, separate yourself even more from the physicality of your avatar, from the situation. You go into your sanctuary where you really are guarded. You've got a moat around your sanctuary. You got to go over a bridge, right? See it clearly. So I'm going to count 1 3 times, and when I say 1 for the last time, I'm going to snap my fingers, and you'll be wide awake, totally present in your body. Then we can chat. But if you don't start chatting, I'm going to go, because I have been doing a guided meditation now for 2 hours, 42 minutes, and 39 seconds, and I need to get some tea and maybe some lunch, or at least a banana. And so, 1, you're coming forth from state. You feel light, protected, happy, clear, and I want you to, if not chat here, go get yourself on your laptop or your device, or, a notebook, and write down your feelings, because by doing that, it enables you to understand your experience. If you just let it go, your meat puppet mind will justify it as just simply a daydream. And this was more real than anything you experience in what is called. I live in the real world. I gotta work, and I gotta pay my bills, and I gotta be a Republican. No, I gotta be a Bernie, or I gotta be, a person who feels guilty about their racism, sexism, or any of those other isms, right? And 1, you feel really great. You're breathing deep. You're aware. You're opening your eyes. You're looking around. You're seeing where you are. And you're thinking, where's my notebook? I'm going to write down, like, these ideas are popping in my head, like, and you're awake. You're awake. You're awake. You're awake. You're not unconscious going through this dream world of the illusion. You're awake. You're awake. You're awake. Wake up. You have woken up. And you go, wow. Wow. So, anyone got anything to say? Come on, AI. I get you in my dream time when I go to sleep. You're always in my dreams, AI. And you're doing pretty good because I'm not even keeping, my electronic devices in the same place I sleep. Well, no one's saying anything. It's only AI and me. Well, I hope you enjoyed this 3 hours. And so I bless you. And I'm going to try and do one tonight if the gods of the internet allow me. I may also put up another little shorty off my phone to make fun of things. I hope you enjoyed the one I did this morning. That was kind of interesting because I was, that was my phone that I played with, and what it took the image of my face with my eider down around my head. So I was, the only thing part of my skin I was exposing was my head, and my beard, and the eider down in my beard made it look like my well-haired testes and my legs, and the eider down looked like my legs, and looked like it was very amazing. It looked like a naked guy with one eye, and that looked like his whole body was one big penis, and and that's and that is the paranormal demon creatures, esoteric ETs that rule our world look just like that. Because I went into state and I was projecting through my electronic device what those creatures, they don't look like crocodiles, they look like that. So go enjoy that one. I was trying to be funny. And so, I hope you enjoy this. And again, I tell you, go put as much of these, I've got more than 1,000 shows, right? That's a lot of hard work on my part, right? Get more people to subscribe. It'd be nice if more people were watching this. Now, I'm firmly in enjoying the fact that the people who are watching this are folks of it's quality over quantity. But it would be fun to have 1 million hits, and it'd be fun to have this monetized so I could have a little, more than $481. It'd be nice to be able to come visit you, travel around, before the NCV-19 shuts everyone down into fear. And that's, you got to realize, that's what Hidden Hand is, because they are out of control. They're really scared. They're hanging on by their fingernails because love's light of photonic light of co-creation is taken over. We are in the Aquarian age, not the Piscean age anymore. So, gang, stay well, be good. Okay, I'll see you later. Later around 8 p.m. Right now it's what time is it now? 3 o'clock. Okay, 3:05. So that's 5 hours from now, give or take. Okay. Oops, missed it. There we go.